come, Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to the base. Justice has scored a tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back and throws. There's a long drive. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings long drive left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins. Here's the pitch to Willie. There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
long drive to left field. Way back. Yes, it's goodbye. Home run.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a chance. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Monday. It is a little overcast. The fog looks like it's finally starting to burn off, at least a little bit. Oddly enough, the lights are on here at Paladin Stadium.
Kind of feels like San Francisco a little bit, Dan.
Yeah, a little bit. You could honestly say right now, which is probably true for me in a lot of areas of my life, the lights are on and nobody's home.
Man, what an odd feeling that is for all of us out there.
Yeah, it has. It's been a great weekend. By the way, I'm Dan Scott. That's Forrest Stulting. Welcome to the show. Coming off of a huge weekend here at Furman and around the world of college football. It was just an incredible weekend. And the fact that this late in the season, we're able to include what's happening with this Furman Paladin football team in that is just amazing.
Nice little cherry on top.
Yeah, I mean, this is where Furman fans believe their football team should be each and every year, playing meaningful games at the end of the season, and to get back to where that standard was, to reclaim that standard, and to beat your rival by 36.
It really put them out of the game from the very first snap, essentially. It was just pure dominance by the Paladins for all 60 minutes on Saturday. We only saw 3 plays during the entire game where Citadel showed any kind of signs of life on offense. So it was just a great job on both sides of the ball for the Paladins this past weekend.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot more about the big win over the Citadel and what that means now potentially moving forward from a playoff standpoint. We're also going to take a look briefly back at the basketball opener over Bob Jones and the first win in the history of the Bob Ritchie era here at Furman. So we've got that to get to, plus a big weekend rounding up on the FBS level of college football. A lot of shakeups in the polls after what happened this week. We almost had something happen that had not happened since New Year's Day of 1966.
Yeah, top 3 teams lose.
Alabama snuck its foot out of the trap. Otherwise, 1, 2, and 3 all would have lost on Saturday night, and that hadn't happened since New Year's Day 1966. So it was a fun weekend of college football, and we're going to try to recap as much of it as we can, among other things. First, we start with campus news here at Furman. If you're just joining the program, we always try to give our other programs here at Furman a little love right at the top of the show, and then we move on into the broader world of sports, both locally, regionally, and nationally. But right now, a quick look at some campus news and notes.
Absolutely. Furman's volleyball team, they swept both Samford and Mercer this past weekend to win the SoCon regular season title with a record of 20-9 overall and 14-2 in the conference. So congrats to those ladies. And the tournament will start this Friday for the Paladins. The cross-country team, both of the men and the women, advanced to the NCAA championship November 18th in Louisville, Kentucky. The men finished first with 55 points, out of 32 teams. Aaron Templeton finished 5th. Troy Reeder finished 8th. Tanner Hinkle finished 12th, and Josh Brickle finished 13th. So a great showing for the Paladin men. On the women's side, they finished second out of 37 teams with 83 points. Allie Buchowski finished second. Gabrielle Jennings finished 10th. Savannah Carnahan finished 11th. And Emma Grace Hurley finished 19th. So congrats to the cross-country team for finishing so high for a second straight year. And they'll be headed to Kentucky this Saturday. The women's basketball team, they beat College of Charleston yesterday, 72-58 in their first game of the season. So congrats to those. Jackie Carson and all her wonderful staff and players. As Dan mentioned earlier, the men's basketball team, they won 101-48 on Friday night over Bob Jones. So congrats to Coach Ritchie and all his staff and all his players on the great first win by Bob Ritchie. Good job for them. And then the men's soccer team, they lost Friday night 3-2 to UNC Greensboro in the semifinals, and that ended their season. But they had a great season overall, and it was really a lot of fun to watch them play all year.
Yeah, it's just a shame both of our soccer teams The women went into the tournament in Sanford ranked number one, the number one seed, got knocked out in the quarterfinals.
Yep.
And the men hosting here won a quarterfinal game last week and then get beat 3-2 in the semifinals. So neither will be going on to the NCAA tournament, which is a shame because both of them are really worthy. But that's part of the life of living in a conference like the Southern Conference.
You got that right.
Whether it's football or soccer or whatever, that's one of the issues that you run into. But it was a great season for both of those. What do we have trivia-wise today?
All right, we're gonna
How trivial can you be today?
Pretty trivial. We're going to start looking ahead this weekend's game against the Sanford Bulldogs. And my question is, it's going to entail Furman football. What year did Furman first play Sanford in football?
Okay. I have no idea.
I didn't either until I looked it up.
That's the way it goes. What year did Furman first play Sanford in football? All right, that's your trivia question. We will see what the answer to that question is later on in the program right at the end. So if you have a guess, you can drop it in any of the comment boxes that we have on the various platforms that you're tuned in on today. As we go to break, a word about the Atlanta Bread Company located at Cherrydale Plaza just down the road from campus here. Breakfast there this morning and a chance to talk a little football with Jeff Massey. He was at the South Carolina game against Florida, and as usual, when you get into those huge stadiums, if they've not made a great deal of effort to increase capacity for cell phone signal, so many people on their phones, it's just hard to get a signal sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So he said it was after he got out of the stadium across the street to his brother's condo that he was able to pull up the Furman game. Hey, 35-0. I think, oh yeah,
we'll take that.
So we talked about that a little bit and talked playoff possibilities, and that's just kind of a little bit of the atmosphere that you get there. The owner coming out and having pleasant conversations with you, whether it's football or whether it's anything. That's what they do. And oh, by the way, the food there is fantastic. Bevy of hot drinks and hot sandwiches, things like that available here as the weather is turning cooler. And don't forget the turkey cranberry sandwich, which is a temporary addition to the menu. Cranberries are baked right into the bread. You will love it. That's the Atlanta Bread Company. Thank them for what they've done in sponsoring this program when you stop in and see them down in Cherrydale Plaza. We'll come back and get headlong into some Furman football and basketball.
Oh, yeah.
On the other side, this is a Dan Scott Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT unpimiented cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. the Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. All right, welcome back to the show. We are just getting things cranked up on a Monday. Dan Scott, Forrest Stulting here. Hope that everything is well with you and that your Monday's off to a good start. If not, just load up on some more coffee and you'll get through it. And by the way, the coffee at the Atlanta Bread Company is just fantastic, as you might imagine. As we do on game weeks, we start by reliving what happened last week, and you get the sneak peek of this Saturday's Montsecours St. Francis Furman flashback. It was a big, big day for the Paladins here against the Citadel, and here's what it sounded like on the radio broadcast. Take a listen. Receiver split wide to each side on 3rd and 5 in the double wing, and they'll go handoff to Rainey, and we stood him up and drove him back after a gain of a yard.
Yeah, just great job up front. It starts with Jalen Reed, and you like your chances when it's 3rd and 5 and you're trying to run over Jalen Reed, but Reed there and a little bit of help from everybody else.
Blazejowski under center, and he's going to fake the pitch left, roll to his right, pressure coming, steps up, comes back down the near sideline, and a catch in traffic by Thomas Gordon at the 45-yard line in Citadel territory and tumbles out of bounds right there. Now they go everything tight with the double wing set. Near side hash at the 20. The Blazer dropping straight back to throw. Looking down the middle. Caught, touchdown! Paladins strike first. That was it Wynn? No, that was Cam Burnett who made the catch. 3 receivers right and a bunch set, 1 to the left. Blazer takes the snap, drops the throw, rolling out to his right, setting up, throwing in the middle, complete. First down at the 40, up to the 42-yard line. Thomas Gordon settled into a hole in the zone, made the catch right along the far seam. Allen going to drop the throw, rolling to his right, pressure coming, and we got him! All the way back near the 40-yard line. Paladins will take over on downs. Tyler Boyles and Chris Washington would not allow him to set up to throw the deep ball. And the defense comes through again. Furman football at the 38-yard line. 14-0 Furman. Paladins driving. Option coming to the right. Backing out of it as a Blazer. Throwing down the middle. Complete. Inside the 20. That's Shumpert inside the 10. And out of bounds near sideline at the 6-yard line. Ben Roberts chasing him down from behind. Big play again in the passing game. 1st and goal, Paladins. Going to the Weebies. Fullback is Wilcox. Tailback is Dirks. Everything tight. 2nd and goal from the 1. Hand it to Wilcox, and with the second effort, gets into the end zone. Touchdown, Paladins. They'll go to the eye, win the deep back, and they'll go option. He backs out of it, throwing down the middle, and it's caught. Big play inside the 30, inside the 20. Jake Walker, the backup tight end, all the way down to the 17-yard line. It's officially the 19. Blazejowski, option, pitch, Moorhead. He's got room. He's at the 10. He's at the 5. He's in the end zone. Another touchdown, Paladins.
Another great job of execution, and as Jeremy points out, Logan McCarter down there had his guy driven all the way back to the S in the end zone, and another crisp, short, time of possession drive for a touchdown, and it's looking pretty good, Dan.
Blazer under center. Hand it. Dirks running right. Touchdown. My goodness, what a hole. Had no contact until he got to the goal line, and the Citadel defender lost that battle. The big man rumbles in for another score, and Furman, 5 possessions, 5 first-half touchdowns. It's 34-0. On first down, Moorhead goes in motion right to left, handed to Keelan Dirks, and he's hitting the backfield. He breaks free. He's got a wide-open path to the end zone. Touchdown, Paladins. I mean, he was stopped. They had him wrapped up. He was able to shake free, took a little sidestep to the right, and then just started rumbling forward, and there was nothing between him and the goal line. Stay in that double wing. Blazejowski play action. Throwing far side, complete. McCarter made a move, gets inside the 10, inside the 5, touchdown. Stayed on his feet, got around a tackler at the 10-yard line, and then tiptoed up the sideline for the score. Wally Wilmore couldn't bring him down, and the Paladins lead it 48-7. This time they split a receiver to each side, dropping the throw. Here comes pressure again. He steps through it, rolling out to his right, and this time we got him again. Sacked him back at the 47-yard line. Raynard Ellis cleaned it up, and that's sacks on back-to-back plays. Out of the double wing, and Roberts, 3-step drop, looking, throwing, gets rid of it. Burnett inside the 20, inside the 10, inside the 5, and down to the 1-yard line. Roberts let it go just as he got hit, and Burnett went airborne to make the catch, and then was able to take it all the way down to the 1. That is 40 yards on the play. Double wing, everything tight. First down, goal to go. Handoff, Gibson walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Paladins. Now you score 56 points. You shut down an option attack. You get 5 sacks. You have your basic 5-minute highlight.
You got that right. It was thrilling from start to finish. There,
yeah,
Dan, so I'm okay with it.
Probably could have shortened it up a little bit, but come on.
When you're playing the Citadel,
it's the Citadel.
Let's rub it in their face.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's do it.
As efficient a first half of football as I think you could hope for. It started with the defense shutting down the Citadel option game, and the offense. Clay Hendricks and I talked about this on his show last night. There's some thought about the best way to defend an option offense is keeping it off the field, ball control.
Yeah.
And that's something we've been very good at this year.
Absolutely.
But isn't it interesting? And instead of doing that, we came out aggressive, throwing the ball down the field and going for the jugular pretty much right out of the gates. There was no thought of ball control, possession time until we got later in the ball game.
Sure.
But in the first half, it was just boom, 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 and 35-0. Got a big play that kind of turned the game. It was 14-0. Citadel is in our territory, and they decide to go for it on 4th down.
Yep.
And that's when we got that sack, the first sack you heard in the highlight package there. And that really turned the game. 2 possessions later, their starting quarterback, the option quarterback of the 2 they play, was out of the game and would not come back as they were down 21-0, then 28-0, and had to basically abandon what they do and start throwing the football.
And did not work out too well for them, Dan. I mean, they had 223 yards of passing in the air, but I believe 180 of that came on those 3 plays where we could have little defensive breakdown in the secondary. But outside of those 3 plays, just outstanding defense by play by our defense. I'm really shut down their running game. They only had 146 yards on the day. When you take that away from a running team, that just throws everything in shambles essentially. And so that is just the key for me essentially is just stopping that run game, make them pass the ball, and get them uncomfortable and put them in your hands essentially. Well,
we've updated our graphic that we've been doing since about week 6, I think. And you can see now after Saturday, 366 points and 2,470 yards through 10 games. My meager math skills tell me that we're averaging 36.6 points and 247 yards rushing per game.
My gosh, Dan, where you come up with this?
You know what? Just don't mess with me on numbers when we're talking about tens.
Oh, man, there you go. I like that.
If you can divide it by 10, I got it down. And you can see the comparison that we've been doing all year long from the previous 4 seasons. And now more points than 2013. That was the only category which was still behind. After 9 games, we had 310 points. So now, after 10 games, you see those numbers. Compare them to the last playoff team in 2014, and those numbers are after 4 more complete games. Yeah. So the beat keeps rolling on. And I looked individually. Mm-hmm. You know, we are not going to, unless we have a maybe a two-game playoff run, let's say, which would give us 3 more games. Then you have an outside shot maybe of either Antonio Wilcox or Keelan Dirks getting to 1,000 yards. But they've been splitting the carries
almost equally the entire season
at the fullback spot. Combined, that position has rushed for 1,313 yards and 20 touchdowns this year. Wilcox, 681 yards and 12 TDs. Dirk, 632 yards and 8 touchdowns. And you look at Dirks, he had virtually nothing the first 2 weeks, very little in the way of carries and production at Colgate. So everything that he's done by and large has come from week 4 on. And what an addition that he has been. And then you add Darius Moorhead, who doesn't get nearly the carries, but has 460 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. Wilcox is averaging an even 5 yards per carry. Dirks is averaging 5.1. Moorhead is averaging 6.6 yards per carry. So the emphasis on running the football has paid dividends.
Oh, you got that right, Dan. And I think we saw something different this past week than they normally do with the aggressiveness from the first drive, is that we made them be sure that we were going to let them know that we were going to pass the ball a lot. And that kind of put them off on their heels a little bit, and that cleared the way for us to run the ball more effectively. And I think just keeping those defenses off balance by not showing what we're going to do in certain situations, I think that is a huge key for the Paladins. And I think just moving forward, that's going to continue to show that how dominant we are on offense by keeping the teams on off balance, essentially.
Well, and, we've been talking about the rushing yardage and charting that stat all year. We'd be remiss if we did not spend a few minutes talking about the season that P.J. Blazejowski had. He was 11 of 14 this week, again, super efficient with the football, right on target, another touchdown pass. On the season, this kid has completed 101 of 161 passes.
It's astounding.
That's a 62.7 completion percentage. And you think about high completion percentages, and we're going to see a guy, and I haven't seen the stats, and maybe you can look it up real quick, Devlin Hodges, who's thrown the ball significantly more than P.J. Blazejowski. And his completion percentage, I'll be surprised if it's not 65 to 70%. But they are a dink and dunk passing team, high octane offense, and they're going to get it out real quick. They throw it downfield some, but it's a very short passing game, which is going to lead to a high completion percentage.
Sure.
You have to remember what we're doing in the passing game here is we are taking shots downfield, and the first 3 games we missed a lot of those shots. By and large, since then, we haven't missed them. So, when you talk about Blazejowski's completion percentage at 62.7%, that is awfully impressive considering how far down the field we generally throw the football. He's thrown for 1,799 yards, and then here's the big stat. 16 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. He has not, for the most part this season, made the mistake of trying to force the football into places that it should not go. And in the first 3 years of his career, when he was a spotty starter at times, he would do that. He has done a very good job of playing within himself and taking what the defense gives him, and the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, I'd say this year, especially in the game on Saturday, I think we had at least 5 completions of more than 25 yards. So that just goes to show how big, how well he's able to throw the ball down the field. And speaking of Delvin Hodges, he's completed 66% of his passes this year. So
which is between 65 and 70.
You got that right,
How about
Dan.
that?
Man, my goodness. And he's got thrown for 3,287 yards. So he's definitely he's attempted 425 passes this year. So they have really thrown the ball a lot more than we have. So hopefully we can make them a little more run heavy come Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to make them become run heavy because that's not who they are.
Sure.
They use, in effect, the passing game as an extension of the running game. You'll see a lot of short passes on first down, 3 and 4 yard type things. Their deal is tempo and trying to just by tempo and by throwing it all over the place, run the crap out of you, basically.
Yep. Spread you out too.
And so you could see in this game going in where it might be more of a time of possession type thing for us to hold the football and keep them their offense off the field. So we'll see how it works out. But just a quarterback comparison, when you look at the numbers, Hodges has thrown for many more yards. He's thrown for more touchdowns and all of those things. But when it comes to completing the big pass downfield and what Blazejowski's asked to do in the Furman passing game, his numbers are phenomenal, especially when you talk about completion percentage and then touchdowns to interceptions. It's just been a special year.
Yep, he's been on target.
And as Mark points out, on top of everything else, number 1 in all the FCS in least number of penalties per game.
Love that stat. I mean, it's one of the things that's been killing us over the past few years, and to be that discipline of a football team just goes to show how all these coaches have changed the culture and how the players have taken to that culture and really showed it game in and game out. So.
Yeah, so it's been fun to watch. It really has. So another just dominating performance. If you're thinking playoffs, you got to think that it'll be hard to keep Furman out now regardless of what happens. A win Saturday in Birmingham, and then I think there's a pretty good chance we could end up hosting a first-round game.
It's possible.
But you have to remember that the committee, among all the things they look at, they've got a formula they follow that gives you so many points for a win at home, so many points for a win on the road, deductions for losses at home, losses on the road. And they do take margin of victory into account, and they cap that at 21, so you can win by 100, but they're really only going to count did you win by 21 or not. Well, 6 of Furman's 7 wins have been by more than 21 points, and 3 of those have been on the road.
You'll take that.
So when you're starting to talk about strength of schedule, how'd you perform against that schedule, how many of your games were blowouts, and where were those blowouts, all of those things start to stack up really well in Furman's favor.
And especially if you go back and look at what Citadel did versus Wofford, and how they took them to overtime, and how we really beat them in the first half. I think that goes to show how much we've improved since week 1 when we played Wofford down in Spartanburg.
Yeah, well, still some work to be done. As I say, take care of business, and you don't have to worry about leaving your fate in the hands of a group of people who go behind closed doors and call themselves a committee. So just kind of keep that in mind moving forward. All right, let's take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking up the basketball opener, and you got a much smaller highlight reel to hear from that. And then we're going to get into the rest of the weekend of college football. I'm sensing it was not a good weekend for the picks.
We were up and down, we'll say that.
Yeah.
Up and down.
I think Wisconsin's proving to be a little bit better
they are.
than people thought.
Yeah, surprisingly taken back by that.
That's one game I think I got right. The rest of that, I'm not so sure. We'll be back with more on the Dan Scott Show right after this. Don't go away.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR cell phone repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR cell phone repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR cell phone repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. .31 as we continue here on this Monday edition of the program. Lo and behold, the sun is starting to come out.
Clouds are clearing.
Yeah, the haze and the fog is starting to burn off, and starting to see the formation of Paris Mountain in the background.
Oh, it's up there somewhere.
Beyond the visitor stands. Yep, it certainly is. Reminder about our friends at Hall's Chop House in downtown Greenville, where they are the Greenville Steakhouse. The original is in Charleston, so if you're in the Charleston area, by all means, visit them there. But they've opened up here, been open for a while now, and the response has been just simply fantastic, and why not? Menu starts with the Allen Brothers Prime Steaks from Chicago, and everything else falls into place after that. You're going to love the food. They have a tremendous amount of meeting space available. If you have a Christmas party coming up, a corporate gathering you need space for, they can handle your crowd and do it with a fantastic menu. Also, remember, they are open 7 nights a week for dinner. They're open for brunch on Sundays, and they also have an outdoor patio should the weather be nice enough to take advantage of that. The Greenville Steakhouse, conveniently located downtown, that is Hall's Chop House. All right, just a couple of quick minutes on Furman basketball. The Bob Ritchie era opened on Friday night here at Timmons Arena with a 101-48 win over Bob Jones University. Probably not going to do this for all of the basketball games, at least certainly until maybe we get into conference play. But being the opener, being the first game of Bob's tenure, thought we would give you a little bit of a taste of what you may have missed if you weren't at Timmons. Take a listen. The Paladins down 7 as Davis dribbles right down the lane. The runner is good. He found the crease and he took it right to the basket. John Davis III was 6, and Furman back within 5.
He's so tough. Dan Strong can score in traffic over bigger bodies. Good one.
Brown pump fake back to Hunter at the top. Fowler left wing. Dribble penetration to Hunter. 3 straight away. Got it. There's the first collegiate basket for Alex Hunter out of Raleigh, and Furman takes its first lead at 21-20. Sibley on the left wing dribbles down to the corner. Right-handed dribble into the paint. Got all the way to the basket. To the other side. Scoops it in off the glass. He scores, and he's fouled. Burrows drives, and Rafferty just snatched the ball out of his hand on the shot. Outlet to Fowler. Fowler in the lane. Kicks it out to Brown. 3 right to the key, and he got it. Second for Andrew Brown, and it all started defensively with Matt Rafferty. Here's a throwaway at the top. Hunter comes up with it. 2-on-3. Hunter with the reverse. Got it! And the foul. Boy, did a great job, guys, of using his body to keep the defender away, and kind of half turned in the air and flipped it over his head, backhanded style off the glass. Barnhart at the top. Fires the 3. Short. Bangs off the rim twice. Sibley with the rebound. Furman running again. Devin at the top. Devin off the screen, step back 3, straight away, money. That is something he really added to his repertoire last year, that step back jump shot, and that one was smooth. Here's a quick 3 in and out, no good by Matthews. Sibley the rebound. Powell is pushing it up the floor. Sibley into the lane. Sibley to the rack. And Sibley with the layup.
And he split two Bruins right down the middle of the lane, Tom. You talked about that wing. Two guys were on the wings waiting for threes. Sibley took the easy layup.
16:59 to go. Here's Fowler deflecting one, gets it, running 1-on-2 to the basket in the one-handed jam. That was all Daniel Fowler. One of those catastrophic turnovers at the top, and he slammed it home at the other end. Sibley dribbling to the top, little crossover to Davis. Pump fake to the free throw line. Nice pass inside to a wide open Rafferty in the basket.
It's got to be the bounce. The double team came, split the difference, 2 points for Rafferty.
Vintage John Davis right there. That was beautiful. You know, you there watching the game, and Bob mentioned it himself. Through the first two media timeouts, they looked a little maybe overexcited, a little antsy. Really settled down after that. Shot 6 of 21 from three in the first half, but 10 of 16 in the second half. 6 players in double figures, and did what you should do to a Division II opponent.
Absolutely. I mean, I think in those first few minutes, a lot of those threes were open, so they weren't taking bad shots necessarily. They were just not making those shots. And I think once the game kind of settled into its pace, they were able to find their rhythm and find their stroke and bury a lot of those three-pointers. And I think John Davis really helped carry us in those first 3 or 4 minutes where we weren't making those long shots as well. So kudos to John Davis on his good performance, keep us in the ball game early.
And that's just who he is.
Absolutely.
He's kind of the glue guy of all of the Sibley's your player of the year and Fowler's a do everything guy and so many different pieces of the puzzle, and John Davis seems to be the glue that holds it all together. The other thing that we talked about of everything that took place, the one player that we interviewed on the radio after the game was Matt Rafferty.
Oh, yes.
Which was really good to see him back and healthy and running around and doing what Matt Rafferty does again against, and I don't say inferior opponent in a negative way,
sure,
but just in the hierarchy of things. That's the way it works. But it was a big game for him. As I said when he first sat down to talk to us, I can imagine that he was the happiest guy in the arena after missing most of last season.
Hasn't played in 10 months.
Yeah, with the back injury. So it was good to see him doing what he does. I thought the freshman Alex Hunter looked really good. If you weren't with us for the 5th episode of the All Den podcast and again on the pregame show with Bob Ritchie, he said that their plan is to try to redshirt Noah Gurley, and they're going to kind of wait for a couple of weeks to make that decision, and still it could be a game-by-game thing just depending on how things go. Clay Mounts should be back in a very short period of time.
It could be cleared Thursday.
Could be cleared Thursday from his hernia. So if that's the case, that's and just an amazingly rapid return.
Yeah.
And he would have been, had he not been injured, Bob said probably the first guy off the bench.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be a dynamic scorer from multiple spots on the floor. Just an incredible athlete. He can shoot the ball real well, and he goes. Y'all know about his amazing hops and get up there to dunk the basketball. But going back to Rafferty, 23 minutes, 9 offensive rebounds, 16 total, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 10 points. So just filling up the stat chart. Really happy to see him out there. And Devin Sibley, what can you say more about him? 4 for 4 from 3, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 23 points. So your senior leaders came out to play. And you had all 5 starters in double figures, plus Jordan Lyons off the bench. And you had 4 guys that played significant minutes off that bench, and that's going to be huge for the Pals moving forward. Plus adding Clay Mounts, type who can really do a lot of different things for you on offense and defense, is going to be huge for the Pals and keep them kind of dynamic on both sides of the court.
Yeah, I would agree. So it's a nice opening win, and we will see how things move on moving forward. Tomorrow, competition ratchets up in the non-conference as Elon comes calling. And prior to the game, they're going to have the ceremony where they're going to unveil the banner for last year's regular season championship. So you want to be in Timmons Arena to see that. And I want to echo something that Bob said Friday night as he was getting up to leave the post-game interview, he sat back down quickly and said, "I want to say one more thing," and went on to talk about the crowd that was at Timmons Arena. For a Division II opponent, season opener, but a Division II opponent, and with the soccer team playing here on campus, there were still, I think, 12 fans shy of 1,700 fans. 1,688 was the official attendance. That was a pretty impressive crowd for us for a Division II opponent.
Yes.
And being the season opener had something to do with it. They made a lot of noise. It was a good crowd, and that was good to see, and hope that fans will really pack the place on Tuesday night for that unveiling, and then with Elon coming in, that's going to be a much tougher game.
They're a good team. They can really shoot the ball from all 5 spots on the floor, 1 to 5, and they're going to not as big as some of the teams we'll see this year, but so I think we'll be able to match up well with them in terms of 1 to 5. But they all can shoot really well. Not that good in transition from what I saw the other night when they played Duke, but that is Duke, a whole different opponent. So if you can keep them running the ball and keep them having defense in transition, I think that's going to be a huge thing for the Paladins come Tuesday night.
So it'll be 6:30 airtime, 7 o'clock tip. It'll be an ESPN3 broadcast with Bryant Lambert joining me, and that'll be simulcast on Fox Sports 1440. All right, let's get to some college football from the weekend.
All right, we had another wild and wacky weekend of college football. You're going to have another big shakeup of the top 4 teams this week on Tuesday night when they unveil the new rankings. 4 teams in the top 10 lost, 1, 3, 6, and 9. And just when we thought we had it all figured out, Dan, just crumble up the paper and throw it to the side, essentially. So, and I believe in our picks, we both went 3 for 3. In game 1,
or 3 and 3.
3 and 3. Excuse me. 3 and 3. In game 1, Georgia versus Auburn. We both picked Georgia, and Auburn really just took the Bulldogs to the cleaners, beat them 40-17. Only allowed 46 rushing yards to the Bulldogs in that game. That was pretty astounding, and just a great job by that Tiger defensive front. And Jarrett Stidham, he came to play, Dan. 214 yards, 3 TDs, 16 of 23 in the air.
And you know what? I got to give the young man credit because he had not played well in the early through the midway part of the season, but here of late he has really stepped his game up.
No doubt about that.
Give credit where credit's due.
Yes, sir.
So we both missed that one.
Yep. Game number 2, Notre Dame versus Miami. We both picked Miami in this one, and they did the same thing that Auburn did to Georgia. They beat them pretty bad, 41-8. Miami really showed their prowess on the defensive side of the ball. Those linebackers just flying to the ball. On offense, they had 237 yards of rushing, 137 yards in the air. So it really kept the Irish defense off balance, and they were able to stop that prolific running game by the Irish, only allowing 109 yards on the ground. We both got that one right. Anything you want to say about that game, Dan?
I just think that Miami is again getting better and better. Now the question is, how good is Virginia Tech? Because Virginia Tech just lost to Georgia Tech. So was that as good a win as maybe we thought it was for Miami? Bottom line is, they've beat everybody on their schedule.
Yep, actually had some pretty close games. So
early on, but they seem to be getting better as the season goes on, and the ACC championship game matchup is now set.
Yes,
that's going to be Clemson.
It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
And Miami and Charlotte.
And I believe Miami only plays Georgia Tech, and then I think Pittsburgh the last 2 games of the season. So I think they'll win those 2 games pretty easily to set up essentially a spot for the college football top 4 in the playoff. From the ACC.
Yeah, and there I saw a national writer earlier this morning talking about, there people have been talking about, well, could we have the 2 SEC teams in or this, that, or the other? And they said, are we overlooking another 2 teams from one conference possibility? What if you have a 10-1 Clemson versus an 11-0 Miami in the ACC championship game and Clemson wins that? Could Miami still get in at number 4 if Clemson is number 2? A lot has to happen.
Yeah, shakeup's going to happen.
But it's becoming a scenario that at least you can start to consider now.
Oh, absolutely. I think that was definitely a big possibility.
Unless Miami stumbles at Georgia Tech.
That could be the game because that triple
circle
option.
that one.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Game number 3.
I don't really have a whole lot of faith in Paul Johnson to win a big game, but we'll see.
Triple option is unpredictable, so you never know. But game 3, Oklahoma beat TCU pretty handily, 38-20. We both picked TCU in that game, so we are 1-2 on the start of the day, Dan. And Baker Mayfield, man, he just continued to say why he is the front runner for the Heisman Trophy right now. 18-27, 333 yards, 3 TDs, 50 yards rushing. Man, they just looked dominant against the Horned Frogs on Saturday night. I watched the first half of that game because the second half was pretty much a wash. They looked unbelievable on offense. They really spread that defense around, and they just picked it apart essentially throughout the first half, those first 30 minutes.
Yeah, I really thought TCU's defense would at least be able to slow them to a certain degree, but as it turned out, it did not happen.
I think that shotgun spread really opened up a lot of things for the Sooners, not only to run the ball but to pass the ball. Essentially, those nice little slants they get over the middle, they like so much down in Norman.
Okay.
Game number 3, Alabama versus Mississippi State. This one was a heck of a whole lot closer than any other games we picked so far, Dan. And Alabama squeaked by here, 31-24. Jalen Hurts really was a reason for them to win the ball game late. He carried that Bama offense not only on the ground with his legs, but in the air with his arm as well. 242 yards in the air, 40 yards on the ground. But that Crimson Tide defense really stepped up big time in the fourth quarter and held that Bulldog offense to not much in the fourth quarter.
Which I thought that a couple of things that maybe the Mississippi State defense gambled a little too much.
They were all out
in the
blitzing,
fourth quarter, and then I thought the offense got a little conservative. I watched the entire fourth quarter of that game, hoping that we were going to see the upset. And I thought that that was a pretty clear example, because Mississippi State had the lead. That was a clear example of playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Offensively,
trying to get to the overtime. Essentially,
offensively, I think they got a little too conservative. But anyway, I'll give Alabama credit; they were able to get back into it and win.
So we both got that one right. 2-2 on the day. Game number 5, man, Iowa, Wisconsin. Wisconsin won 38-14, and both those touchdowns that Iowa scored were defensive touchdowns. So the Badgers' defense did not give up any offensive touchdowns, which shows they are for real on the defensive side of the ball.
I picked Wisconsin. You picked Iowa,
That
right?
is true, yep.
And you just think of what Wisconsin did to Iowa's offense 1 week after what Iowa's offense did at Ohio State.
Yep.
Held them to 66 yards rushing in that game. And I think what has happened to a lot of people nationally and maybe even to the two guys in this room is that Wisconsin, they are who they are. They are not flashy. They are not going to be a spread it out, throw it all over the place, run it up and down the field type of team. They're going to be run heavy and very methodical in what they do. And sometimes you see what they're doing and you tend to think, well, they're just not as good as some of these other teams. And yet here they go. They just keep moving and moving and moving and moving. I think maybe as well as any team in the country, they understand their identity.
I think so.
And it's an identity that is consistent from year to year.
Yep. On going back to your defensive point, they only allowed 41 passing yards to go along with those 60 rushing yards. So that was just a tremendous day for that side of the ball.
That was incredible.
But here's the one flag I will raise, Dan. They threw 3 interceptions on the day. That could be a big difference maker come the Big Ten championship game or in the college football playoff if they make it there. So look for that to be maybe a deciding factor come late in the season to maybe to the tables towards their opponent and not themselves. Make them a little more one-dimensional.
Which is one reason why they're run heavy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. But I'm saying if teams can really stop that run, I think that will kind of make that offense almost immovable. So,
all right.
Game number 6, Stanford versus Washington. Here we got an upset on Friday night. The Cardinal beat Washington 30-22. I picked Stanford. You picked Washington. So we finished the week both 3-3. And like I said on Friday, the Huskies were not able to stop Bryce Love. 166 yards on the ground, 3 TDs, and that was really the big difference in the game for the Cardinal.
Well, as long as we tie every week, there's no chance of you catching me, so I'm good with that, number one. The new polls are out before we take maybe a quick final break. Of course, the one poll that matters will be out tomorrow night, the third week of the committee's poll. But just kind of looking at the top 10 in the AP poll, Miami, actually AP and the coaches poll, Miami has jumped to number 2 behind Alabama now in both of those polls.
As they should.
Yeah, Georgia dropped from number 1 to number 7 in those polls. Oklahoma is 3rd in the AP and Clemson 4th. Coaches poll, Clemson is 3rd, Wisconsin 4, Oklahoma 5, Wisconsin's 5th in the AP, then Auburn 6 in both, Georgia 7 in both, Ohio State 8 in both, Notre Dame 9 in both, 10. AP is Oklahoma State, Southern Cal is number 10 in the coaches poll. But again, the one that matters comes out. If you look at last week's poll, number 1, Georgia lost. Number 3, Notre Dame lost. Number 6, TCU lost. Number 9, Washington lost. So there's going to be some shuffling up the ladder for some teams here in the third week of the poll.
I think it's going to look eerily similar to the coaches poll, I think, with Bama 1, Miami 2, Clemson 3, Wisconsin 4. Could be a flip-flop with Oklahoma 4, Wisconsin 5, but then Georgia 6. Auburn 6 and Georgia 7. That sounds like it should be the right formula for me. Don't really agree with some of the AP top 25 poll. Don't think Clemson should be ahead of Wisconsin right now just because of how dominant they've proven to be the past 2 weeks of the season with no losses. But that's that.
Well, and also the FCS polls will be out this afternoon, which we'll be able to dissect tomorrow. I had a comment from actually my buddy Cobb Oxford on the Facebook post who said he looked at the top 25 poll, the coaches poll from last week, and Furman was not ranked. He said, "Explain, please." And the best explanation I can give him is that the coaches poll is a widely known joke.
Yep,
it really is. If you look at the Sagarin the ratings, which is the overall strength of schedule and everything factored in, the Massey ratings, kind of the same thing. Furman is 13, 14, maybe 15 in those, which has been pretty consistent, really, in those rankings over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, but we'll see what the polls show when they come out tomorrow. Bottom line is, again, as Clay has been saying for 2 or 3 weeks now, Paladins have their destiny in their own hands. When there's no question that you're in, and you're in the running to host a game, and even lose, I still think they're in, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I'm not sure what other conferences are going to send out their 2, 3, and 4 finishers throughout the country, but I think we have a really good shot at making it, but I don't want
to. Well, and the other thing that you have to look at, too, is you have to remember that when you're talking about polls and all that, that's nice, but some of the teams that are ranked in the top 25, and remember we have a 24-team playoff field, some of those teams still have not garnered the necessary number of wins to qualify for the playoffs.
Only 1 or 2 of them, so not that many, I think.
Yeah, but again, if they don't get there, that's 2 more spots.
Absolutely.
That open up.
Yeah, for sure.
So just kind of keep that in mind in the last week of regular season play as well, that there's still a couple of teams that haven't gotten to the necessary number of wins to qualify for the FCS playoffs, and that could play a role.
Oh, I think so. We'll see come Saturday, but it's just we got to play real well on Saturday against the Bulldogs, and hopefully we can come out with a victory down in Sanford and win the 14th Southern Conference Championship in Furman football history.
We've only got about 5 minutes left. Let's just roll. What else do you have today?
All right. NCAA basketball kicked off this weekend, and the biggest story was down in Durham. The Duke Blue Devils defeated Elon 97-68 Friday, and then beat a very solid Utah Valley team who lost to Kentucky the night before by 10 points. So that's a pretty quick turnaround for those Utah Valley squad right there.
The biggest story in college basketball this weekend was Duke beating Elon and Utah Valley.
Okay. That's just who then those two wins were Coach K's 1,000th victory at Duke alone.
Okay.
So, and he's the first ever to do so in college basketball history, Dan.
Yeah, that number wins at one school.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that, but that's not the way you set it up.
I was stirring the pot,
Okay,
Dan. I was stirring the pot.
You were leading into it.
Exactly. Yes.
You were leading into it.
Don't jump the gun too quickly,
Yeah.
my friend.
Actually, I think the biggest story in college basketball is that there are 3 UCLA basketball players sitting in a hotel room in China under house arrest right now.
That's up there.
Yeah. They're not in jail arrest, but they're in a hotel room under house arrest.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, anyway, continue.
Yeah. So the first ever to do so, but technically Jim Boeheim had 1,000 wins, but he had 101 wins vacated due to many NCAA recruiting violations. Some notables from this past weekend: Villanova squeaked by Texas A&M, beat West Virginia pretty handily too down in Morgantown. Northwestern barely won their game this weekend. They're ranked 25th in the country. UCLA still beat a Georgia Tech team that was shorthanded, so that's good to see out of them. And UK, man, they almost lost both of their games this weekend to much lesser teams, to Utah Valley and Vermont. So look out for them possibly not being as strong this year as they have been. And then Louisville, they beat George Mason 72-61 in their opening game of the season. So that'll be a team to watch for the entire year with what's going on outside of their program with involving the NCAA and the FBI.
And they still have a lot of talent.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
So, it's just going to be a matter of can they, like Bobby Bowden used to say at Florida State, can they circle the wagons, and keep all those distractions on the outside and focus on basketball. Because they're say what you want to about the Louisville program, but there's still a lot of talent there.
Oh, no doubt. So. Yep, I agree with that 100%. Thing 3, Ezekiel Elliott started serving his 6-game suspension yesterday. I was glad to see him on the sidelines, essentially, after his third appeal was knocked down by the Second Circuit Court judge. And also, out of Dallas, some owners are conspiring, supposedly, to go nuclear with Jerry Jones and possibly take his ownership away from the famed owner. And this is not a very strong option as of now, but it's a possibility, Dan. And so that's going to be something to keep a close eye on through the coming weeks. And also, Teddy Bridgewater was activated for the first time in 672 days. Showed a lot of emotion on the sideline pregame, so I was glad to see him suit back up and play. He didn't play for the Vikings, but been on the sideline for the Vikings in a uniform, and hopefully get back out there pretty soon to show his talents.
I want to go back to the Jerry Jones thing for a minute. I was reading the story because of the power play that Jones has tried to make in this deal with the commissioner's contract that has drawn the ire of the other owners. What they're doing is as the story I'm reading says, digging into the collective bargaining agreement to find out what their options are. And it is said that it's a serious long shot and unlikely to happen, but they are looking at the possibility. One reason why it's unlikely to happen is because of the legalities of it. The other reason that it's unlikely to happen, as the story points out, is that for all of his warts, and there are many, Jerry Jones has helped all the other owners in the league make tons and tons of money.
Yep.
So, but you know what? They don't like when one of their own jumps up and tries to
take hold of the reins. Single-handedly.
Exactly, which is pretty much what Jerry Jones has tried to do. So, just something else to keep an eye on. Bottom line, Cowboys are 5-4. I think they could have been 5-4 at this junction of the season had Ezekiel Elliott served his 6-game suspension at the beginning, and they would have had him for the stretch. Now they're not going to have him for the stretch.
Yep.
So, and I understand the process and all the things that go along with this. And again, this is bargained into the collective bargaining agreement, but you have a choice as the player to choose to accept or choose to fight. He chose to fight, and I think in the long term that fight is going to end up hurting his team.
I think so, because they did not look very good yesterday, Dan, from what I was seeing.
Yeah, and if you look at the history, the NFL ultimately won the battle with Tom Brady. It took a full season. He served a 4-game suspension at the beginning of last year when it was supposed to be at the beginning of 2015, but ultimately the league won that battle, just like it's going to win this battle with Ezekiel Elliott.
They've already won it, essentially, with him serving
Well,
suspension.
there still is one more appeal, and they said that appeal is going to be expedited.
Sure.
But the bottom line is, had he just said, let's do it, let's serve the suspension now, he would have been here for the stretch run of the season. And, I'm very confident they could have gone at least 5-4 through 9 games had he set out the first 6. But now he's going to set out games 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 if everything goes the way it looks like it's going to go. So those are some pretty staunch weeks, especially when you're trying to catch the Eagles, who've only lost once.
Yep. Strong Eagles team.
Mm-hmm.
So
anyway.
Yeah.
Couldn't happen to a nicer group as far as I'm concerned. On this date?
Yes, sir. 1979, the first time in MLB history 2 players will share MVP honors. Willie Stargell of the Pirates and Keith Hernandez of the Cardinals. 1995, Greg Maddux wins his 4th straight Cy Young. Incredible stuff there. And non-baseball on this date, 1964, Bob Pettit of the St. Louis Hawks is the first NBA player to score 20,000 points. So congrats to Bob Pettit. Now I think he's ranked 28th in all-time scoring, so he has just gotten shoved down that list after being atop it for numerous years.
Mm-hmm. All right, what about trivia?
Trivia. The topic is Furman football. More specifically, Furman versus Samford. What year did Furman first play Samford? Any guesses, Dan?
1948.
Somewhat close. 13 years off. 1961. And a 21-14 win in Greenville for the Paladins.
Were they known as Samford then?
That's what I saw.
I mean, because before that, I think they were known as they weren't known as Samford, Howard or something like that.
Oh, I think you're right. Actually, yeah. So they're probably not.
But I don't remember when the name changed.
Yep.
In any event, they'll play again this year. We don't have to wait that long.
No, we don't.
And it's coming up on Saturday. A lot more about that. Tomorrow on the program, we'll be dissecting the FCS polls, and I'm sure still scratching our heads somewhat over the coaches poll. Hopefully the Paladins is going to make a big jump there, but they are showing out where it matters the most in the strength of schedule rankings from Sagarin and Massey, as we said earlier. But we'll have that and much more to get to on the Tuesday edition of the program. Enjoyed it. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you too, man.
You folks have a good day as well. We will see you tomorrow. Until then, for Forrest, I'm Dan. God bless you, and so long, everybody.